All right, let's dive right in. Today we are tackling a true giant of world literature, Dante Alighieri's The Divine Comedy. Now, this is a 700-year-old epic poem that literally maps out the entire universe, from the deepest, darkest pit of hell all the way to the blinding light of God. So the big question is, how do we, as students and readers today, even begin to unlock its secrets? Well, that's really the heart of what we're exploring, because you've got to understand, the Divine Comedy isn't just some theological fantasy. It is a profoundly personal story, one that was forged in the fire of political chaos, incredible personal loss, and a spiritual crisis that nearly destroyed its author. Just take a look at this timeline. Dante's entire life was wrapped up in the city of Florence. He was a politician, a public figure, he was somebody. But then, in 1302, everything just falls apart. He's falsely accused of corruption by a rival political group and exiled from his home city for life. And this loss, it's devastating. He loses his home, his status, his entire reputation, and that becomes the raw, burning fuel for this entire poem. The journey he writes about is a journey he had to take to save himself. So, to really get this masterpiece, we're going to approach it like architects. We're going to reveal its structure from the ground up. First, we'll start with Dante's own personal crisis. Then we'll map out the poem's absolutely incredible design. We'll decode the terrifying logic of hell, climb the mountain of purgatory to see how love gets reordered. And finally, we'll ask the big question, why does this medieval epic still matter so much to us today? Okay, so let's start right where Dante himself starts. We don't meet some literary legend here. No, we meet a man who is at absolute rock bottom. He's lost his home, he's lost his standing in the world, and most importantly, he has completely lost his way spiritually. The year 1300 is so important. Historically, that's the year Dante was at the peak of his political power in Florence, right before it all came crashing down. So by setting the poem here, he's creating this fictional version of himself at this moment of intense crisis. That dark wood he's lost in, it isn't just some poetic metaphor. It's the real, lived experience of a 35-year-old man, halfway through his life, looking around and thinking, how on earth did I get so lost? Now, before we take a single step into hell with Dante, you have to appreciate the mind-blowing architecture of what he built. I mean it. Nothing in this poem is an accident. Every number, every single line, every structural choice is just loaded with meaning. Think of it like a universe built with the mathematical precision of a grand cathedral. Okay, the secret code to the whole structure is the number 3. It's all about the Holy Trinity, which is, the foundation of Christian theology. So Dante built his entire poem in its image. You get 3 main sections, or cantiche, Inferno, Purgatorio, and Paradiso. And the very lines themselves are written in 3-line stanzas. It's everywhere. And he doesn't stop there. Each of those 3 parts has exactly 33 chapters, or cantos. But the Inferno has 1 extra, which works as a kind of prologue for the whole poem. So what does that add up to? A perfect grand total of 100 cantos. Now, in medieval numerology, 10 was the number of perfection. So 100, 10 squared, symbolizes the absolute, total, perfect order of God's creation. See? Everything has a purpose. This incredible design goes all the way down to the poetry itself. Dante actually invented a new rhyme scheme just for this poem. It's called terza rima. See how the rhymes link up? The middle line of one stanza gives you the rhyme for the next one. It creates this constant forward-pulling momentum. The poetry itself literally pulls you onward, just like Dante the Pilgrim is being pulled through the afterlife. The form is actually performing the theme of the poem. It's genius. So the universe Dante is writing in is the old Ptolemaic model, with the earth at the center of everything. But for him, this physical layout is also a moral map. Hell is literally a giant pit dug underneath the holy city of Jerusalem. Purgatory is a huge mountain on the exact other side of the planet, and heaven is a series of 9 rotating spheres, all leading up to the Empyrean, the very mind of God. Basically, where you are in Dante's universe is a direct reflection of your moral state. Okay, with that blueprint in our heads, we're ready to go down. But listen, we're not just going to see some grotesque horror show. We're going down there to understand the brilliant and frankly terrifying moral engine that makes the entire Inferno tick. This is the very first thing Dante reads as he enters hell. It is one of the most famous lines in all of literature for a reason. It sets the tone for this whole realm. Hell is the place where things are permanent. The choices you made in life, they are now locked in for eternity. There's no chance to change, no room for hope. It's over. Now, the entire system of justice in hell is run by one single brilliant idea, contrapasso. This is the master key to understanding everything. The punishments are not random. They're not arbitrary. They are the sin itself made real. The sinners in hell aren't being tortured by some outside force. They are eternally trapped in the very state of being they chose for themselves back on earth. And this just shows you how it works perfectly. So, the lustful, who let their passions just toss them around in life, are now, you guessed it, endlessly tossed around by a hurricane. The flatterers, whose words were basically filth, are now literally sunk in it. The fortune tellers who tried so hard to see the future, well, now their heads are twisted on backwards so they can only ever see the past. The punishment isn't just fitting, it is the sin, just made eternal. But Dante's hell is never, ever simple. Deep down in the eighth circle, among all the fraudulent counselors, he meets the great Greek hero Ulysses. And Ulysses gives this absolutely breathtaking, inspiring speech about the human need to explore and gain knowledge. It's honestly one of the most noble-sounding moments in the entire poem. So why is he in hell? That's the question, right? It's because his heroic quest was driven by pride. It was an ambition that went too far, that ignored divine limits. His story is this really profound warning. It's a cautionary tale that even our most noble virtues, like the search for knowledge, can actually lead to damnation if they aren't guided by some sense of humility and faith. So after climbing down the actual body of Satan to get past the center of the earth, Dante pops out on the other side of the world. And the change is immediate. It's absolute. We go from this suffocating darkness and total despair into a world of open air, starlight, and hope. The journey isn't about punishment anymore. Now it's all about purification, about getting ready for the final climb into pure light. The difference between these two places is just immense. In hell, suffering is forever, and it's forced upon you. But in purgatory, the suffering is temporary, and the souls there choose it. They embrace it because they know it's the path to healing, the path to God. You could say it's the difference between a prison and a hospital. The entire structure of Mount Purgatory is basically a school for relearning how to love correctly. The 7 deadly sins, which Dante saw as different kinds of messed up love, are purged one terrace at a time. They start at the bottom with the most serious sin, pride, and work their way up to the least serious, lust. So for example, the proud have to walk bent over beneath these heavy stones to learn humility. The envious, who sinned with their eyes, have their eyelids sewn shut. Each purgation is like a kind of spiritual therapy designed to heal the soul and point its love back toward God. At the very top of the mountain, in the earthly paradise, we get one of the most heartbreaking moments in the whole poem. Virgil, Dante's guide, his teacher, his hero, he just vanishes. As a symbol of human reason, he's taken Dante as far as he can go. To enter heaven, Dante needs a new guide, Beatrice. She represents divine grace theology. Her arrival means the journey is changing again. It's not about fixing sin anymore. It's about rising through realms of light and understanding that you can only really grasp through faith. So after this unbelievable journey through Dante's entire cosmos, we get to the big one. How do you take this epic poem and actually use it in your IB essays? Let's break it down. Here are the key analytical tools this poem just hands to you. Okay, first, you always have to connect the poem back to Dante's exile. This isn't just some fantasy story. It's a political document written by a man dealing with massive injustice. Second, for a global issue, you have to focus on justice. The poem just keeps asking, what is real justice? Is it payback? Is it poetic irony? Is it mercy? Third, when you analyze contrapasso, don't just call it a punishment. It's a literary technique that's making a whole theological argument. And finally, look at intertextuality. The way Dante uses Virgil is a masterclass in how a writer can respect, argue with, and ultimately write beyond his own literary heroes. After climbing through all 9 spheres of heaven, which isn't a journey of pain, but one of increasing light and music and understanding, Dante is given this final brief glimpse of God himself. And in that ultimate moment, what he sees isn't a king on a throne or some angry judge. He sees that the force holding the entire universe together, the thing that gives it all meaning, is a love. And that's what we're left with, this final, huge question. The poem maps out this universe of what seems like rigid, terrifying justice, and yet its very last word is love. Can those two things really be the same? Is the perfect justice of the contrapasso just another name for the perfect love that holds the cosmos together? That's the puzzle Dante leaves for us to think about.